Doctor, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, one final call. Tell me that you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can everybody hear me before we get started? Yes,
Yes.
nice.
Yes, doctor.
Oh, Mumtaz, good.
Yes.
Okay, so a good evening to everyone. This is me again, Dr. Sameh, and this is A230A. So what is it that we're doing today, or tonight rather? We're finishing off Othello and transitioning to the Duchess of Malfi. Spoke long and enough about the about Othello. Spoke long and enough about the background to the age, the different forces, political, socioeconomic, cultural. We made this distinction between the Renaissance and the Elizabethan age and the medieval period. We set them or we pitted them against each other, and we came out with in a kind of um, pronouncements and statements about why the Elizabethan age was what it was in terms of perhaps the focus on governance, the focus on achievements, progress, and in terms of literature, like we said, the focus was on drama. So, of all the other genres, drama stood out as the most distinctive and the most important and the most favored. Spoke about what kind of drama, and we said that tragedy, with its different aspects, whether it was revenge tragedy or domestic tragedy, spoke about all of that. Today, we're in a kind of um, continuing the effort. And after we're done with the Othello as a representation of the age, we're transitioning to the Duchess of Malfi, which is a representation of um, um, an age that is very close in terms of time and also in terms of ideas and ideologies, namely the Jacobean period or time. How far did we go with Othello, and how much do we still remember about Othello the man and Othello the play? Can somebody come to the mic and share insights? I mean, I told you that you by now you should have been kind of half through or perhaps done reading the play or reading a decent summary of the play. So when I say Othello, what comes to your mind? Nothing? Come to the mic. We're not judging. We're not taxing.
A hero for the tragic story.
It is tragic. Tragic on a number of levels. Tragic on the technical level because it's a tragedy. The dramatic framework that we're using is tragedy, and tragic on the level of yeah, I mean human relations, and the fact that we also have suffering and agony, and this is what you're trying to say, yeah, Mariam, right?
Yes.
Are you Mariam?
No, I am Mayas.
Mayas. Okay, okay, Mayas. Thank you so much. What
Doctor,
more? Yeah, go ahead, yeah, Abdulaziz.
can we like a hero?
I'm not sure. I mean, you're fluctuating. I mean, your voice comes and goes.
Okay, let me change my network and I will be back.
Okay, no
Sorry.
problem. That's fine. Asma, you're raising your hand.
Yes, doctor. So when you mention Othello, he has a very association with the literature and drama. Uh, so when we speak about him, I mostly remember his plays and his involvement with trying to raise movement to discuss topics that are supposed to be taboo.
Are you confusing between Othello and Shakespeare?
Perhaps.
Yeah, I think you're confusing between them. Othello is, or yeah, Othello is the creation. It's a play, and the creator is Shakespeare. Hanin?
Okay, so last time, as a recap, we spoke about Othello as a fictional character who was written by Shakespeare, and we talked about Desdemona and the father, which was
Brabantio?
Brabantio, and the other character who was against the
Yeah,
Othello and
yeah,
Desdemona's marriage, or them being
Iago. You
together.
mean
Diago,
Iago?
yeah. And also we have discussed the fact that Othello's background is an African, and as a, what was it called? He was part of the military,
Mhm.
and him being that, he was an eloquent speaker when it came to Brabantio's, um, let's say, his disagreement on them getting married or getting together.
Yeah,
Uh, we also talked about the context and the
yeah.
theme of both stories of the
Mm,
story or the play,
mhm.
and I think that's about it as a recap. But we
Yeah.
have yeah, we have spoken a lot. I also was amused that I don't know if you mentioned that earlier in class, but I thought that the story was a real story. It turns out it's a fictional story that was actually written way back before Shakespeare brought it up. I read that and I was surprised that they are not real characters. But the fact that Shakespeare brought them in an emotional depth and they felt like real characters.
Yeah.
And it was really astonishing to know that. I thought they were really real stories, and then Shakespeare wrote about them. They're actually fictional. So,
Well, yeah, yeah,
um,
and this is yeah, and this is literature. Literature is yani based on, for the most part, it's based on the imagination of the author or the writer. Sometimes it starts with, the point of departure would be reality, inspired by actual events and actual stories, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's purely imaginary from
yes, that's true.
yeah, yes. The
I
fact
also,
that that the
yeah,
fact that you found it so realistic is, um, to the credit, of course, of Shakespeare. He could blur the lines between reality and fiction, and this is something that not all writers can do. Yeah,
that's true.
yeah, go on.
We also talked about the Renaissance time. So basically, this was the time where the Elizabethan and Jacobean century, would we call that a century or
Yeah,
timing or
these are
period?
ages and periods.
Yes. So back then, I have covered this part also that we have spoken about the Renaissance time. It's the time where literature has grown and people were more into and these plays that they have produced on theaters. So I guess that's the part we're gonna cover in the quiz, right? The Renaissance part, the beginning of
Yeah,
the book.
yeah, we're going to cover the background to the age, which is obviously the Renaissance, and we may go all the way back to the medieval period to make those comparisons between the medieval period and the Renaissance. When we spoke about the Middle Ages and the medieval period, we focused on what kind of literature they produced, and we said it was either mystery plays or morality plays, and we spoke about the difference. And we also highlighted the fact that the medieval period was a time of darkness and decadence, where nothing much happened in terms of science and technology. Okay, so this is basically it. Let's move to the rest of Othello. Just to remember where we stopped. So Othello in your textbook is discussed and explained over two chapters. We finished the first chapter and then we moved on to the second one. And we're even halfway through in the second one. In the second one, we have seen that shift in scenery. This shift in scenes and setting, we moved from Venice to Cyprus. And we said that a movement is very significant because we're moving from civilization and civility and parliaments and senates and stability in Venice to whatever is unpredictable, whatever is stormy on the different levels in Cyprus. Cyprus was an outpost of Venice Empire, commercial empire, obviously. And we associate Cyprus with whatever is unpredictable, whatever is bad. And again, it's the associations are all related to the sea and the unpredictability of the sea and how violent the sea can become for all the beauty of the sea at times. You can never tell when the sea can turn nasty and become a force of destruction. So this is the shift, and I said it's a very important and significant shift. So where are we now? We are um, in Cyprus. Again, when we were in Venice, it was all, even when they spoke bad about each other, it didn't amount to much. It was all verbal. But when we moved to Cyprus, the arguments are going to get nasty, and it's going to turn uh, into violent actions. We're going to see people killing each other. We're going to see wild emotions and feelings, especially jealousy, and how jealousy can turn into a beast and a monster that destroys and eats up everything in its way. So these are things that we're going to see tonight. Let me share my slides and we are on our way. So again, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the chapter that we're doing. So it's Othello, chapter 2, Honesty and Difference, Men and Women. And obviously, talk about honesty. We talk about, honesty, all that, or the lack thereof, obviously. You'll find that people like Othello and Desdemona are honest. You're going to see people like Iago being dishonest. We'll see the difference. And of course, when we talk about men, we talk about people like Othello, Iago, Parabancio, Cassio, Rodrigo. And when we talk about women, we talk about Desdemona primarily, and we also talk about Emilia, the wife of Iago and the maidservant to Desdemona. Okay, again, I'm not going to kind of revisit what I have done before. I'm going to move very quickly. So change of setting in Act 2, Scene 1, where we're moving from Venice to Cyprus, of course. And again, we spoke about the associations of both. And then we started to kind of make profiles for the different characters. We started to make those comparisons between the different characters when, their views when it comes to love, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to women. And it's very clear, of course, that Iago's views are all negative. They are all animalistic when it comes to love. Othello, on the other hand, has very positive views of love and marriage. And again, they are perhaps allied in their views of women and women's role in society. And it's Iago, Paravancio, and Othello. They cannot hide their misogyny. Misogyny is women hating. If you're a woman hater, we call you a misogynist. So we have misogynistic attitudes towards women. And they all share that. Even Othello, the guy that we love and respect and admire. Again, what we have noticed so far that Othello becomes absent much of the time in Act 2, Scene 2, and this is obviously disrupting the balance of the play. Remember that the play is titled Othello. Othello is the titular hero, and most of the events are about him. So if you're not seeing much of him and seeing much of Iago, so the balance is obviously shifting. And this is obviously very bad. So the balance is shifting towards Iago. It is true that there are so many references to Othello, but he is absent. Again, if Othello is absent, Iago is busy, kind of perhaps promoting himself, doing this and that, promoting himself in our eyes as audience to the extent that at one point we would feel kind of we would feel pleased that he is around, and over time we would feel that this is a guilty feeling, and we are complicit in whatever scheming and planning he does. Again, Othello may be absent, but when he comes back, when he appears on the stage, he is very commanding and he is very forceful. And of course, we said that he is very poetic and musical. So what do we know from the profile that we have built so far for Iago, we know that he's bluff and confident, and the fact that he is also devious and he is a professional actor. Professional actor in the sense that he knows how to pretend. And he even said it himself. He said that I'm not what I am, which means I may appear or you may perceive me in a certain way, but make no mistake about it, I'm not what you think I am. I am devious, I am a rogue, I am a self-confessed rogue, I am bad and everything. So over time, we're going to feel that Othello is becoming Iago's victim. And obviously this marks the beginning of the end of Othello. If he can be intrigued and deceived by Iago, obviously we have a problem. So many audiences find themselves enjoying Iago's energy and feel complicit in his plotting at this point. Again, and we feel that there is this distance between us and Othello. Othello is still commanding our respect and admiration, but not our love and fellow feeling. When we move to Act 3, Scene 1, we're going to see that, I mean, it's a continuation what we've been doing. It's the play is very straightforward. It has a simple plot and it doesn't have any sub plots. And we don't have a comic relief. Normally, if you have a tragedy and you have tension and you have competing forces and you have agony and suffering, sometimes you need comic relief. You need something in the middle to make you relieved. I mean, it's normally you have like a clown coming in order to provide this to provide comedy and comic and farcical situations to again to ease the tension. But this is not happening in Othello. If we still remember, we have enough information about the character of Othello and also about the other characters, especially Iago, to be able to kind of make a stand, to take a stand either for or against Othello. And in doing that, we are actually following the footsteps of a number of scholars and critics. And those critics are polarized over the character of Othello. There are those who love Othello very much and they believe that Othello is more sinned against than sinning. Othello is noble and is exceptional. And this camp is called the pro-Othello camp. And you have the other side or the other camp where you have people blaming Othello for whatever happened and saying that whatever happened to him and to his wife was self-inflicted. It was all because of his the fact that he has this strong self-belief, the fact that he was self-dramatizing, the fact that he was seizing opportunities where people can say, yeah, oh, this is Othello, the high and the mighty. He liked it when he sees admiration in the eyes of people. And if he cannot secure this kind of admiration, he wouldn't mind if they pity him. He can put himself in situations where he can be empathized and pitied. Okay, so now we'll talk about those pro-Othello scholars, and one of them is A.C. Bradley, this very famous British writer and scholar who wrote a very influential critical study called Shakespeare Tragedy in 1904. A.C. Bradley saw Othello as open and passionate. According to him, Othello is a lover, the strength of whose passion inspired the love not only of Desdemona, but the audience. According to him, it's this love and this passion for Othello um, was so instrumental in you know prompting the audience to pity Othello when he fell, despite the fact that he murdered his wife. They were, according to A.C. Bradley, members of the audience were ready to forgive Othello because of his nobility, because of his passion and love and everything in between. So according to Bradley, the view of the play is that the tragedy is the undoing of the noble Moor by the devilish cunning of Iago. So Bradley believes that the play is about a tragedy, a human tragedy where we have a noble Moor uh, whose destruction was meted out or caused by Iago, the devilish Iago. Iago, according to Bradley, is a devil, is the devil incarnate, and it is due to Iago and his scheming, evil scheming, that we saw the downfall of a great man, namely Othello. So according to Bradley, it is external evil that caused the downfall of Othello. It's not his internal weaknesses. It's not Othello's internal weaknesses. And by the external or external evil, of course, he means the malice and the hatred of Iago, the demi-devil. According to him, the demi-devil Iago turned the happy story of romantic love, of romantic lovers who were qualified to live happily ever after, into a tragedy. Um, we have people opposing this view, saying, no, this is not correct. Othello's tragedy is self-inflicted. He willed it, he did it to himself. And this, um, you know, kind of bunch of scholars are headed by T.S. Eliot, who is a very famous critic and poet. T.S. Eliot and others are anti-Othello, which means that they believe that Othello is to blame for whatever happened. According to T.S. Eliot, Othello has a tendency to self-dramatize, especially in his final speech. Self-dramatize means that he knows that he is very eloquent. He knows that he has this power of words. So he goes on the stage and he starts to talk in very grand terms, using poetry and in order to again to impress on people that he is the best, that he is exceptional. This is self-dramatization. And again, if he cannot garner and secure your admiration and those aha moments, he can do something that can extract your pity. So it's either admiration or pity. He doesn't mind. And obviously, this is self-dramatization as T.S. Eliot sees it. Another anti-Othello scholar or writer is F.R. Leaves. and he wrote something which was meant to be a reaction to what Bradley said. Of course, you know that A.C. Bradley is very pro Othello. F.R. Leaves is very anti Othello. According to Leaves, Bradley is sentimentalizing Shakespeare's tragedy, I mean Othello, the play Othello, and he is displacing its center. He said, and this is obviously F.R. Leaves, who is against Othello. He says that too much attention um, tends to be paid to the character of Iago and his diabolic intellect. He's saying that we're giving Iago too much attention and we're branding him and dubbing him as um, having a diabolic intellect. And this is obviously bad for Othello according to Leaves, because we're shifting the balance. We're disrupting the balance and we're displacing the center. The center should be on, or should be, Othello. But if we're focusing our attention on uh, um, Iago, this is obviously not doing Othello a big service. Actually, this is against Othello, because that play is called The Tragedy of Othello, and Othello is the chief character. So the chief personage, in such a sense that the tragedy may fairly be said to be Othello's character in action. And Iago, make no mistake about it, is subordinate and is merely an ancillary. So he says, make no mistake about it. What you guys are doing, especially Bradley, is bad, because in this way you're sentimentalizing uh, Shakespeare's tragedy and displacing its center. Again, obviously, A.C. Bradley is not the only Othello fan that we have. We also have Wilson Knight, and obviously F.R. Leaves has something against Othello that he has to talk about when it comes to Wilson Knight. Wilson Knight is credited for this idea of music when it comes to Othello. He refers to Othello's eloquence and the way he speaks as Othello music. Again, F.R. Leaves is addressing the fact that if we talk about music and if we talk about being on the stage, making those fiery speeches, obviously this is a habit of self-approving and self-dramatization that is an essential element in Othello's makeup and remains so at the very end. Again, this is what T.S. Eliot said at one point. Remember when we spoke about this idea of self-dramatization, wanting to appear, wanting to show off, wanting to demonstrate and show his verbal talents at the expense of anything. And if he cannot secure your admiration, he would go as far as creating scenarios where you can pity him. So this is self-dramatization and self-approving according to F.R. Leaves and T.S. Eliot. Again, Leaves goes on and stresses the fact that we shouldn't be crediting Iago with this idea of persuading Othello that Desdemona is kind of treacherous and everything. So it's not this is not as much Iago's diabolic intellect as it is Othello's readiness to respond. Yeah, I mean, he's saying that he has it in his system. I mean, he's talking about Othello. Othello was ready to accept whatever Iago said. It's not that Iago was very smart or cunning and has diabolic intellect. No, it's Othello's readiness to accept whatever Iago says. So Iago's power, according to F.R. Leaves, um, especially in the temptation scene, is that he represents something that is in Othello. Um, and he stresses the fact that the traitor is within the gate. This is a very powerful metaphor and image where F.R. Leaves is stressing the fact that obviously Othello is his own traitor and his own enemy. So don't go outside the gates and look for external forces and external evil. The evil is within the reps and the chest of Othello himself. And so very powerful. The traitor is within the gates. And Iago is simply a mechanism necessary for precipitating tragedy in a dramatic act. Very powerful image. The fact that the traitor is within the gates. Look no further than within Othello himself, his character, his self approving and self dramatizing tendencies. And then we move straight to the temptation scene. So let's first of all unpack the temptation scene. I want to make sure that you guys can hear me very well.
Yes,
Can you
doctor.
go?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can
we
you
Yeah,
hear
can hear
everyone?
you.
Okay, nice. Very
Yes.
good.
Doctor,
Yeah, go ahead.
so the things you've mentioned earlier now, are they included in the book? Because I can't seem to find them, and
What? You
they're in
can't find
chapter
what?
2.
What you can't?
The critics and the the ones you were talking about, the
They are there in the book.
leaves and
Yeah,
the,
yeah, they
okay.
are there.
So they are
Yes.
in chapter 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, we're talking about the temptation scene, and let's first of all unpack what this is. So it's a scene like any other scene. Plays are made up of acts, and those acts are subdivided into scenes. So one of the scenes is called the temptation scene, and obviously it is called so for good reasons. So let's first of all talk about temptation. When I say temptation, what does it invoke and conjure up at the back of your minds? What does it remind you of and stuff like that? Temptation. What is to tempt somebody to do something?
That you make somebody
An
to do
illusion.
like you seduce someone to do something,
Yeah, the
like
word
persuade
seduction is
them to
very
do
big.
something.
You try to persuade. Yes, persuade is a better word. You persuade somebody to do something, right? You get somebody to do something to embrace a certain course of action. Yes. Okay, and temptation has, sorry, you have archetypal echoes. What was the first temptation ever in history, or even before history was written?
Son of Adam.
Yeah, temptation. with
To kill his brother?
that we associate with Adam and Eve. And of course, you know what happened then and who tempted them, right? So it can I mean, I would like you to think of it along those lines, that we are having somebody who is tempting people. Obviously, they are doing something and they're moving in a certain direction, but you tempt them so that they change direction. And obviously, when
Like an
they
illusion.
yeah, and allure them to do something that is normally forbidden. So so it's a scene where we can almost expect what will happen. So what will happen? We will have somebody tempting somebody to act in a certain way, to understand something in a certain way. But with temptation is normally direct. Direct means that I tell you, I keep telling you something. But temptation is done in the temptation scene in Othello in an indirect way, in a subtle way, and it's through insinuations. Insinuations means that I drop a word. I don't go to you directly and tell you this is bad and this is good and you should do this and that. No, it's very subtle and it's very uh, done in a backhanded way. And it's
Way?
insinuation that we're having. Insinuations means that you give me a clue and you stop there. You give me a signal and you stop there. And you let me come up with my own conclusions. Okay, so who are the actors? Who are the people in this temptation scene? We will have people, we will have Iago, we will have Othello, and to a lesser degree, we'll have Cassio and Desdemona. But actually, the focus, I mean, Cassio and Desdemona are the material of the temptation scene. But what happens after they leave the stage is what we refer to as the temptation scene, where obviously Iago is going to insinuate to Othello that something bad or fishy is going on between Cassio and Desdemona. So the temptation,
Doctor,
yes,
sorry. So that temptation, we can this vocabulary or this word, it's like two meanings. Temptation, like temptation, and the meaning, or temptation are like physically body to
no,
like some.
it's not
No,
physical. No, it's not physical. It's trying to convince somebody through it's verbal temptation, if you like, with words, with
like yeah, like Iago with Othello when he
yes, this is what we're
temptation.
talking about, and this is what we're
Okay,
talking
okay,
about.
it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, so again, it's the temptation here is all about playing on words. I mean,
Like the
saying
devil
something.
tempting a human.
Yeah, it is more or less like the devil. Okay, and the temptation scene is also known for this play on this idea of echo. Echo, when somebody says something um, and you echo him. Uh, this is um, perhaps instill something in your mind. If somebody is repeating you, nobody repeats nobody else unless he has something to say, unless the latter has an agenda. Again, this is all part of what we call this preferred responses. This is a whole um, field of linguistics that we call dispreferred responses, and we also have what we call back channeling. Back channeling is about nodding to people, telling them that you agree or perhaps disagree with them. So this is what Iago is playing on. Um, Again, it's about not being straightforward in whatever you say, is about echoing, is about saying that you don't know. It's these techniques that Iago is going to use that will eventually lead Othello to think the worst in Desdemona. Let me give you this. This is the echo part, which is at the core of the temptation scene. We have Othello, we have Othello and Iago, and I would like you to read it and see whether it's very straightforward, whether you feel comfortable reading it. Tell me your overall impression when you have finished it. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it on your own. Go ahead, read it. Okay. Give me your impressions about it. So what happens? What is going on here?
He let
So,
him think, he let him suspicious of his friend without telling him straight
yes.
uh, his idea. He just make him think about what he want to him to think about it without saying anything.
Yeah, he's not being very straightforward. He is repeating, he's
He's repeating the
echoing.
words
Yes.
to
So
make Othello like concerned about the situation.
Yeah, either repeating or saying I don't know, right?
yes,
Um,
and it's very
Also,
cunning.
and the conclusion, the conclusion that Othello arrives at is that Iago is hiding something. He's saying, "Thou echoest me. You're echoing me as if there were some monster in thy thought, in your thought. You're thinking of something monstrous. You're hiding something monstrous. You know what a monster is? Something negative and bad. You're not sharing it with me." Again, this is at the core of the temptation scene. So, who is tempting whom here?
uh Iago tempting Othello to think bad
Yes.
about his wife and his friend.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Again, so these are insinuations. Insinuations are not direct, okay? Again, you drop hints, you give signals, but you are never straightforward about what you want to convey to other people. So forget about Iago and his insinuations and let's think of Othello. Why is Othello so ready to accept those insinuations? You would think that this is not the Othello that I know or we know because Othello is very smart, is exceptional, and his wife is so um, courageous, so faithful. She did everything for him. Why would she do that? Right? I mean, obviously, Casio has always been there in front of her eyes. Why didn't she take him if she wanted him before? So something is wrong with Othello. So let's see what is wrong with Othello. So obviously, Othello has a number of insecurities. He is insecure in his skin. Um, and then those insecurities are perhaps the reason why he accepted Iago's insinuations. Okay, so Shakespeare suggests that it is Othello's own insecurity that gives Iago the opportunity to work on his feelings. And what could be some of those insecurities? Why? What are those insecurities that we're talking about when it comes to Othello? Let's analyze him psychologically. Why would Othello be that quick in judging his wife and in deciding um, what he decided about her?
Because as you said that he's not he has many insecure by his color, maybe
Yeah.
his shape or his face, and also he see Desdemona. He maybe inside himself he doesn't believe that someone like Desdemona loved him and be honest with him. So he always has this insecures, and also every human has his bad side. So in Othello, maybe it's come out in this way.
Yeah, you're correct, ya Munira. The fact that remember, he is a black individual in a sea of white people. He would doubt himself and say, "Why me? Why did she choose me? And she left all those white gentlemen, very handsome, and why did she?" Yeah, it may happen, right? Remember that he is perhaps twice her age. He's very young and he's old. He's middle-aged, right? Again, why? Why would she fall in love with me? I'm black. I am twice her age, right? I don't belong, right? Yeah, these are
It
all
also could be because of the social pressures.
yeah, whatever that means. What are those social pressures that you're talking about?
The, cheating were like very something sensitive in their community, so that's why he was scared about this.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, this is possible. Yes. Okay. Remember, he is the outsider, the extravagant and wheeling stranger in this community of Venetians, and he is uh, forever portrayed as homeless, uprooted, and on the move. Um, remember what we said about him? He described himself as being unhoused. Unhoused means he was never given the citizenship to become a Venetian citizen for all the achievements and for all what he did for Venice. Again, like you said, there was this climate of racism that he was obviously beset with. He was very self-conscious, of course. Othello is a middle-aged soldier accustomed to the exclusively male world of military. This is also an aspect, the fact that he never dealt with women. He doesn't know about, um, I mean, how people treat each other in civil society. I mean, in civil society, obviously, there was nothing wrong for a girl and a man to talk to each other. So he is not, I mean, he spent his entire life in the military where obviously there were no glimpses of women. So he is quite unaccustomed to the company of women. So as you can see, he is predisposed to believe his ensign or his assistant, Iago, over his wife. Uh, Again, and Othello is going to kind of add to this feeling by telling him that she at one point deceived her father and married you, and why not deceiving you too? Uh, when she seemed to shake and fear your looks, she loved them most. Again, these are all very strong words that he is using. Obviously, they would augment and enhance his feelings of insecurity. So, those insecurities have to do with his race, his age, and the lack of experience with women, and they would all intensify a tendency to expect the worst of the opposite sex. Um, Again, that would kind of prompt him to collapse into homicidal sexual jealousy. Um, so again, we're talking about Othello as being, to some extent, the victim of Iago's cunning. But again, Shakespeare stressing the fact that the hero resembles Iago and the other male Venetians in their masculine pride and suspicious distrust of women. Again, they are all allied in their disrespect and distrust of women. Again, it's also the fact that in his grandeur, in his self-image and self-belief, he cannot, uh, uh, you know, I mean, he find it very difficult to accept that Desdemona is also kind of cheating on him. And he started to even echo everybody else in their misogynistic attitudes towards women. When he said, I had been happy at the general camp, pioneers and all had tasted her sweet body, so I had nothing known. Again, this is very bad. This is turning Othello, the guy that we loved and admired, into another animalistic Iago, focusing on the animalistic nature of relationships. Again, what we're trying to prove and establish here is Othello is no different from the rest of the males in the play. He has those misogynistic attitudes and views of women. It is true that when you listen to Othello, you're going to be enchanted by his poetry, but at the same time, you're going to see a decaying set of values. And you will be seeing Othello crawling at Iago's feet. He is going to use Iago's language and take over from Iago all his obsessions. And then we move on to Act 3, Scene 3, where we have violence and death. So again, who are involved here? We're talking about mainly about Othello and Desdemona, and we're seeing this downward slide into violence and death. Again, upon the part of Othello. She leaves the scene, Desdemona, and he remarks after she left that excellent wretch, perdition catch my soul, but I do love thee, and when I love thee not, chaos is come again. He's saying that we're all wretched. Wretched means that we are all poor, poor in the sense that we are helpless. And obviously, perdition is looming on the horizon. Perdition is destruction, is looming on the horizon. Horizon. He says that I love thee. I love you, Desdemona, and if when I stop loving you, chaos is come again. So the whole world will turn into chaos. Again, if anything, it proves that he still loves her so much. But he says that if once I stop loving her, there is going to be chaos in our life and, of course, in the world. Again, as you can see, the language is very highly elevated. And again, this is an Othello tendency. He has this tendency to link himself to the cosmic forces of nature. Obviously, using the word chaos is taking things out of proportion. So it's again, you would say, and this is a domestic affair. You have a man and his wife, and obviously there is. We see so many instances of people, getting married and getting divorced at the end, and obviously the world does not end there. There is no chaos ensuing out of it. Why is he talking in those terms? It's because he is Othello, who is linking himself to the forces of nature. So again, Othello is being very hyperbolic. He is using exaggerated utterances. So again, this is typically grand hyperbolic, exaggerated utterance. Again, this is typical of the Othello that we know. He has this tendency to link his own emotions to large, even cosmic forces. So again, it's all about Othello's grand image. Of course, allied with Iago's lust for destruction. So again, the question remains, is the deception of Othello a matter of Iago's manipulation of his fears and insecurities? Or is Iago, after all, a diabolic intellect, a consummate Machiavelli or villain? So this is the question that we keep asking ourselves. Is it manipulation of fears and insecurities that are there, or diabolic intellect? We need to, again, try to answer this question from whatever we know about both Iago and Othello. You need to take a stand. You need to tell us, after you have finished reading and after you have analyzed the characters, whether you think it's all Othello's insecurities, or it is Iago's devilish nature and diabolic scheming and everything in between. And then we have this scene which would even augment it and exasperate the situation and make it worse. When Desdemona drops her handkerchief, and she loses it, and instead, when she was asked about it, she would, out of fear perhaps, she would hide the fact that it dropped. So that would exasperate the whole situation, and Othello will kind of suspect and doubt more. So this handkerchief becomes a symbol of guilt and betrayal, as Othello's half-crazed condition leads him further into incoherence and rage under the masterful direction of Iago. Again, Othello is going to dwindle into uh, his base nature. He's going to turn into another Iago doing what Iago is doing, like eavesdropping on people and using bad language, misinterpreting everything that Cassio and Desdemona do. In Act 4, Scene 3, we have what we call the melancholy scene, another very significant scene. Melancholy means sadness and sorrow. And in this scene, we see Emilia, the maidservant of Desdemona, preparing her for bed. And there is going to be this occasion where Desdemona is going to pour her heart, and Emilia is going to also be given the opportunity to speak and speak for women. And there is going to be this comparison between Desdemona's non-assertiveness and lack of voice, and strangely enough, Emilia's outspokenness and advocacy for women. So again, this is the melancholy scene in which Emilia, Iago's wife, and Desdemona's maid helps Desdemona prepare for bed. So the most surprising thing about it is how far it anticipates the end and Desdemona's death scene. This scene is also or has what we call proleptic irony, what we refer to as foreshadowing, when the characters drop hints about what may happen in the future. Dramatically, it is a moment of rest before the headlong rush of Act 5. Again, what exactly do we have in this scene? This scene depicts an intimate moment between women, and this is contrasting sharply with all the scenes between men, or even of women surrounded by and dominated by men. Again, it's we're saying that you contrast it sharply with the scenes between men, because what we have seen so far um, are men. They are all soldiers, courtiers, or senators, active in public life, and that would make the contrast between male and female characters all the stronger. So, what do we have in this melancholy scene? Again, it describes a moment of heightened tension because of its content, and actually, this is what Desdemona is telling. Through Desdemona, we get to know about the story of Barbary, and Barbary is Desdemona's mother's maid. She was obviously and possibly black. And Barbary's lover proved mad and did forsake her, and obviously Barbary died singing a song of willow, lamenting and cursing her lot. So the willow song, which Desdemona is now singing, expresses female despair and longing and passive acceptance towards the lover. Let nobody blame him, his scorn I approve. We cannot really know whether this is Barbary speaking or Desdemona, because they are going to share the same destiny. Both of them will die of despair. Both of them will die forsaken and abandoned by their lovers. Again, Desdemona is again repeating what Barbary said, and perhaps this is Desdemona in action, saying that she is ready to accept whatever Othello is going to decide, even if it means murdering and killing her. Again, you find this a little bit contradictory because this is not the Desdemona that we know from before. The Desdemona that we know from before was very strong, was very courageous. Remember what she did in order to get married to Othello? She defied her family. She went against the traditions of her society by getting married to somebody who is not from within her ranks, somebody who belongs to a different ethnicity, a different color, a different race. So she did a lot, which showcased and demonstrated her strength of character. To see her now accepting whatever fate Othello decides for her, this is obviously going a little by little in stature. She is dwindling, she's becoming less. So this is not the Desdemona who could resist her father's pleas, marry in secret, and depart from her home city for a foreign shore. Apparently so, Desdemona cannot get the song out of her mind, she says, and she proceeded to sing it. So again, if anything, the song and the context of the song make us more aware of Desdemona's own tragic situation, in which her lover too has gone mad, and she has become the apparently passive victim of his madness or lunacy. Again, part of this melancholy scene is Emilia's role and what she did and her last speech. Again, quite unusually, Emilia, the maidservant, is very eloquent. She is very um, outspoken, and her last speech is a plea for recognition, for the recognition of women's equal humanity, and it challenges the anti-woman sentiments expressed by so many of the male characters in the play. Emilia's lengthy defense of the rights of wives opens up the whole question of how women were treated at the time and later. And I would like you to what read her speech and tell me what she said and whether you think it's powerful enough or not. Yeah, I mean, whatever you think. I mean, I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it. This is Emilia, the maidservant, mind you. Go ahead. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay. So what do you think? Is it just another speech?
I think it's a piece of her mind that women also are humans
Yes.
and they have the same senses as men.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's about it, I guess.
So, would you expect that from a maid servant?
No,
Would
that's
wh-
actually very deep.
who
She
should be
delved deep.
saying? Yeah, who should be saying this? Desdemona or the maid servant, Emilia?
Desdemona.
Desdemona. But obviously, this is not Desdemona, right? So,
Yes.
if you compare between the two, obviously, Desdemona is dwindling, is becoming less and less, right? And Emilia, um, out of keeping with her position as a maidservant, is giving us a speech like no other, advocating for the rights of women and wives, and also warning men that enough is enough. We've been enduring your selfishness for so long. We are also human beings, right? We smell and see like you do. We also have affections and desires. We want to have fun. We are also weak like you are. And unless you take heed of all these things, it will not. Uh, um, I mean, you have yourself to blame. And then we go to Act 5, where there is a great deal of talk about racial things, racial having to do with race, racial issues. Again, there is this reference to the fact that race was ingrained and entrenched in the European psyche. It's nothing new. According to Anya Lomba, who is a critic, uh, the Europeans became increasingly aware of the power, wealth, and learning of other peoples. And this awareness often only intensified expressions of European and Christian superiority. They believe that they are superior, and that they are perhaps God's chosen people. Again, this is typical, and this is we have seen reflected in the play against Othello. Again, we are citing examples, historical examples of how Black people were treated, even by people in authority and in uh, uh, in the royal family. Queen Elizabeth the First herself had ordered the deportation of Negroes and Black Moors from England on the grounds that they were depriving her own Christian people from jobs. Isn't Does it sound familiar? You know who is saying that nowadays, right? Depriving
Maybe
them.
Trump?
Ah, yes. Depriving them of jobs. Remember the other day there was this video of a British guy. I mean, he is like big and everything, and he is saying that migrants um, took away their jobs, and when they asked him about his qualifications, he said that they took our qualifications too. This is obviously very ironic. So again, we're talking about centuries of intolerance, and it's only natural that we're seeing this kind of echoed in a play like Othello. Again, there is this talk about hierarchy and social distinctions, and ranks, and this is how we started, if you still remember. So this is all about race and how race is entrenched and ingrained in the European and in the Western psyche. And there is also talk about this patriarchal domination and gender inequality. Again, so you're not only talking about hierarchies of color and race and rank, we're talking about gender inequality and patriarchal domination and even colonial domination. So different forms of aggression, macro on the level of the country and the state, and micro on the level of individuals and families and everything in between. Again, there is a great deal of talk about gender and race, uh, and again, what kind of reaction and reception the play uh, uh, received. And again, um, a critic like Thomas Reimer, in his short view of tragedy in 1693, would argue about the morale or the moral of the play, where he cautions, I mean, he believes that the play is a cautionary tale, cautioning all maidens of quality who might consider running away with blackamoors without their parents' consent. And it is also a warning to all good wives that they look well to their linen. And it is equally a lesson to husbands that before their jealousy be tragic, the proofs may be mathematical. They have to make sure that they are not misjudging their wives. Again, this is all about tragedy and what tragedy kind of um, triggers in us. Remember, the tragic hero has what we call hamartia. Hamartia means, um, being wrong in your judgment. And obviously, catharsis is what comes out of um, the tragic downfall of the tragic hero, where we speak about pity and fear. Fearful, you as member of the audience is fearful of the fact that you may have the same fate and destiny, and pity because you're seeing a human being just like yourself. And then we have Act 5, where obviously it's all about the killing, and it turns into like a rampage where everybody is obviously killing everybody else, sometimes by mistake and sometimes intentionally. And this is what we expect of a tragedy, and this is what we expect of a revenge tragedy. Again, in Act Othello, this is Othello in action in Act 5. He dwindled. He is no more the Othello that we so admired for so long. Where what is happening? We have Desdemona in her sleeping chamber with the light. I mean, obviously, Othello comes with light and utters those memorable yet strange, almost incoherent words. It is the cause, it is the cause, my soul. Let me not name it to you. You chase stars or stars. It is the cause, yet I'll not shed her blood, nor scar that white skin of hers than snow, and smooth as monumental alabaster, yet she must die. Again, this is very regretful and very sad. Again, this is another speech, fiery speech by Othello. Again, it's very eloquent. Again, perhaps it's meant to stir our sympathy for him. And obviously, he's talking about Desdemona in very lofty terms. I mean, he is trying to say that for all the love that I have for her, for all the beauty that she enjoys, um, again, she mustn't die. Again, there is this talk about what exactly Othello meant in his speech. Again, what is perhaps sure is the fact that we are having Othello, where his stature as a tragic hero is at issue here. Again, the question remains, who is Othello? Who is Othello? Is Othello a deluded, self-important fool or a noble hero brought down by circumstance? Where do you stand, guys? I'm asking you. I would like you to reflect back on been what we have been seeing of Othello and the others, and tell me whether you think Othello is a deluded. Deluded means deceived, self-important fool. Is he a fool, or is he a noble hero who is brought down by circumstance? I would like you to reflect, to think for a couple of minutes, and then tell me. Think before you say anything. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, I'm ready to take your takes. Whatever you think is right. So, what do you think? Is he a fool or a noble individual brought down by circumstance?
Doctor,
Yeah, raise your hand. Let me see how many hands we have.
can I begin?
Wait. We have other people wanting to share. Only two people. Okay, let's start with Munira and then transition to Hanin. Munira, go ahead.
I think he is both. He's deluded, and he is when he killed himself, so he's regret. But I think if he just give his himself few minutes to think and rethink about his these demonic loves and all the
Hmm.
history between them, the can the he can uh, think right about whole story. But because he just driven by his insecurity. That's what make all the things happen.
Okay, that's very interesting. Let's move to Hanin. Hanin, what do you have to say about this dilemma that we are in? Is he a fool or a noble individual brought down by circumstance?
Well, I actually believe that he's a noble. He's noble, and why? Because honestly, uh, when a person is in a foreign place and has to, for example, be able to mingle with other people, uh, uh, he eventually tried to do that, but apparently he fell in love and wanted to live a normal life like normal people. And he tried to prove his love for everyone that he is capable of, as any other human, being with a person high in a higher rank. And then the fact is that I just didn't understand why did he kill himself. That's the thing. I mean, everything he did was normal, and then up until he killed himself, that's the dramatized part. He can still fight for her. Eventually, he might get something out of it, but throughout the whole story or the play, he was noble, and the fact that he confronted her father and tried to talk about his feelings and tried to prove his love, everything was normal. But why did he kill himself? That's the drama part. Understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
I mean, he
So,
killed himself because he was regretful of the fact that he killed her, because he realized that he was mistaken, that she wasn't what he thought she was.
but why
I
would you
want to
kill
add,
yourself? I mean, there's no. I know he might regret and live a long life regretting instead of killing yourself. Yeah.
Again,
الدنيا
yeah,
والآخرة.
I mean, like you're saying, that's part of his makeup. The fact that he wants people to pity him, he
Yeah,
would, yeah. It's this self-image and self-belief that if I have to die, I have to die in a tragic way,
to
killing
prove a
myself.
point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind
That's
of
the
point. I
dramatized
mean,
part. If you're
yeah,
trying to prove it, then you're dramatic. You didn't do it out of because, well, maybe it's out of shame and melancholy, but still, you should have lived a long life trying to prove an image to people instead of killing yourself.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just a point of view, my own point.
yeah, and then that's good. Thank you, Haneen. Munira,
I want to
you
add
wanted?
something. I want to add something that he has a quality of nobleman, but he's insecure. He destroy all the things. He kill his wife and he kill himself too. But if he little bit uh caution and he um يعني didn't believe his friend blindly, so he can't rescue himself from all this tragedy. But here we have the wisdom of this play, maybe that even if you are a noble, but sometimes insecures and the circumstances controls you. In a minute, you destroy whole things. That's also if it's you are noble. That's it. Thank you.
I mean, you're trying to say that this is the takeaway or the moral of the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Ma Mayas or Mias?
But yes,
Mayas.
I think Othello uh, a little bit of a fool person because he didn't face the trouble that he entered, and the clue that and he didn't defend about his love, and he, as Munira said, that he didn't also rethink about the issue. So he directly did the action without thinking in logical way, let's say. And
You
the
mean
clue
that
that
you're you're tilting towards thinking that he is a fool, right?
yes,
Foolish.
yes,
Yeah.
he's fooled because after he know that the truth, or after he know the truth, he killed them. He killed himself. Um, okay, he killed himself after his wife. So I think this is a kind of weakness because he didn't also face his um, his fault. So
Mhm.
he like truly
You mean
he
you're trying to say that he is hiding or escaping? He
yes,
cannot
yes,
face the truth, right?
yes, he didn't. He gave up directly.
Mhm. Which is out of keeping with him being exceptional and noble and everything in between, right?
Yes, yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to Abdulaziz.
Uh, Hello, doctor.
Yeah,
Actually,
hi.
for my opinion, I think it's a both, or let me say a noble, because Italo is hero, general, and defense the fairness, protect the land, and always Shakespeare, tragic hero. We feel pity for him. I think that always all the plays for Shakespeare. Is that right?
Well, I want your take, not the pattern that Shakespeare is following. What do you think? What do you think?
I think all the circumstance, and also there is a, cyber C. He's let's that's why we are sympathetic with the Othello.
Okay, that's good. That's a good take. Thank you, Abdulaziz. Okay, this is the end of the chapter, and this is the end of the play. I don't think we have time to start a new play. We're going to leave this to next time, which is obviously tomorrow. Um, okay, we have like a couple of minutes. If you guys have any questions, come to the mic and share
Yes,
them with us. Yeah, go ahead.
yes, doctor. I have actually three questions. First of all, are the dates included in the quiz and meds, the
What?
midterm?
What?
Are the dates included in the meds and in the quiz? So
No dates. No, no
no
dates.
dates,
No.
no dates.
Mm.
Okay. And when in the quiz, the one is on Wednesday, we'll be stopping at this part, what we took today, right? So
Ah,
we have to
yes.
study up until today.
Yes.
And the third question, well, I asked this question before, but you told me that it's in the book, the one with the A.C. Bradley and the critic, the other one. I
Mhm.
didn't seem to find it in the book. Can I just study it from the slides if you send them
Yeah.
to us
Yeah.
today?
I
Okay.
already sent the slides. You can study them from the slides if you don't find them in the book.
All right. Thank you.
You're
That's it.
welcome. Okay. Any other questions before we call it a night?
Doctor, I have a question about our course. Do we have like master class or something?
No. And we meet twice. We don't need a third class.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Okay. Right. With this,
دكتور
yeah, go ahead.
معلش بس هو الكويز الأول بيكون أونلاين.
Yes, it is.
طيب شكرا.
You're welcome. Right.
Can you send us the recordings of the
Hmm?
or
What?
can you be is the recording did you record this class today? Is it recorded?
Yeah, I record all my classes. Go to the chat and you'll find it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
On
Thank you.
this, you're welcome. On this
يعطيك
note and
العافية.
with this item, we'll come to the end of today's class. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Bye bye.
مع السلامة. شكرا.
Well, bye bye.
Bye, doctor. Thank you.